Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Back to the Franchise.
You've got to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the
Franchise.
Well, let us introduce ourselves. I am just a child in a mask. It's me, Timothy Glenn. That's what Snoke says to Kylo, in case you were wondering what that was from.
Got it.
And I'm joined by my co-host. He lets the past die. He'll kill it if he has to. It's Tanner Wilcox.
Hey, that's actually not true. It's super dark, but thank you for that.
Well, that's like the most famous line from the movie. So
Is there a famous line from this movie?
You know, there weren't like great ones going through this one, but whatever.
You did your best, Tim.
And that's just what we do every week. We just do our best.
Yeah, okay.
People keep listening to us. Anyway, welcome back. We have episodes every Tuesday. Back to the Franchise, of course. We are nearing our conclusion of our rundown of Star Wars in anticipation of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. How do you feel about that, Tanner?
Well, I'm finally starting to see like TV spots for Mandalorian and Grogu. So
I like to think that they're doing that in accordance with us. They're like, wait a second, there's been this podcast that came up that gave us a bump from March to now. We got to get this out earlier.
Oh yeah, we got to start really throwing out promos for this because this podcast is really ramping up, you guys.
You're welcome, Lucasfilm. You're welcome. Anyway, now let's get into everyone's favorite Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi, Episode 8, release date 12/15/17, written and directed by Rian Johnson. But before we spoil your good times with our bad times, I'm anticipating us to be very negative on this movie. We don't want to spoil the actual movie for you, so just know that there is a spoiler warning for this whole episode. So if you haven't seen the movie, and I'm sure Tanner would say that you're fortunate if you haven't, go watch it, then come back and watch this.
Or skip this episode entirely and don't put yourself through watching this movie at all.
Shh, Tanner, shush. Never say don't watch this at all. Never. We are the priority over everything else. Okay, well, let's not dilly or dally. So, Tanner, personal history of this movie, go.
I don't have any deep-seated personal history with this movie. I did watch it when it was released in theaters. I was riding the high of Force Awakens. I did enjoy that movie, like we said last week. And I went into this movie excited and I left sad, as did most of America.
It was a sad day for America.
It was. There's been some sad ones. This one's near the top of the list.
Yeah, I remember when I was working for Regal at the time, and I was working door, tearing tickets, and there was this guy who came in, and he was like, I think he was like a business owner of some like dealership or whatever, and he's like, yeah, every Star Wars, I bring my entire team every Christmas or whatever. I bring up my entire team for a new Star Wars movie. We'll watch it together, and I foot the bill. He's very much bragging about it that he can, but whatever. And I was just like, oh, they don't know what they're getting into. I was like, this is not going to be the
worth
one.
The cost of the tickets.
But actually, I mean, and when I say that, I'm saying that from a perspective of that, like, this is not a very popular movie among the fandom, but I actually don't align that way. I actually like this movie.
Of course you do.
Which is only going to make for more interesting, podcast material.
I will say, before we get into our reviews, I will say that I've seen this movie 2 times. Once in the theaters and then once a few days ago when I watched it for this podcast. And I will say that the second time I hated it less than I did in theaters. And I really went into it. I tried to have an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some things I like. Not a lot, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, this is also the second time I think me watching it all the way through since theaters. And I had kind of the opposite. I liked it a little bit less. So I guess we're both going a little bit towards the middle on this one. Although I was really looking at my, I have film rankings for every year for all the movies I see per year. And I was looking at my 2017 list. And I was like, okay, where do I want to put this now that I've watched it again? And I really couldn't decide. Like, I need to like talk it out on this podcast before I really update that, because I have a lot of mixed feelings still. So this movie is messy. I do acknowledge that, and a mess is harder to clean up. So I need
Yeah.
to figure out how I feel about this entirely. Okay, well, let's get into pre-production. We kind of did a lot of the groundwork for this movie and episode 9 in the Force Awakens episode, because, you know, they figured out all of it beforehand, supposedly. But it wasn't until August of 2014 that the director of this movie, Rian Johnson, was officially signed on to do it. The movie he was coming off of, and this is probably why he gets this movie, is he did Looper in 2012, another sci-fi movie. Did you
I
watch
like
that
that
one?
movie.
Yeah, great movie. Great movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see. Yeah, like when he was hired on, like I was like, oh, that's yeah. I'm looking forward to his next thing anyway. So now it's just Star Wars. So, and of course, he was supposedly at this time in contact with J.J. Abrams to make the transition from episode 7 to 8 smooth, and the same with Colin Trevorrow, the then director of episode 9, to make that transition smooth as well. I don't think they succeeded on either front.
I'm gonna agree with that.
Yeah. However high my opinion is of these individual movies, my opinion of the trilogy as a whole is even lower. So, like, they just don't really fit together. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I have on the writing side of him is that he wanted a parallel. I mean, a lot of people were going to be like thinking, like, oh, is this going to be the Empire Strikes Back of the sequel trilogy? You know? Because every sequel has to be the Empire Strikes Back of whatever franchise it is, you know, to the original. It has to be darker, you know. But I mean, I guess it does kind of make sense in the sense that The Force Awakens was such a parallel to A New Hope that this would be a little bit of a parallel to Empire. Less so, but he does, you know, incorporate intentionally the idea of our main character's parentage, as we got Luke with Darth Vader and Empire, and now in this one we supposedly for a hot second get Rey is a nobody to mirror that reveal. And he wrote that because he thought that like Darth Vader being Luke's father, he thought that Rey being a nobody, you know, a complete repudiation of every fan theory that was out there at the time that she was Luke's daughter or whatever, to be like the hardest thing for an audience to hear. So that's why we got that in this movie.
Too bad they didn't stick with that, but whatever.
So I completely agree. I mean, I guess that's a discussion for Rise of Skywalker more so, but I mean, it just I guess I'm just kind of done with like everybody being connected, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like the prequels showed us that there's, you know, dozens and dozens and dozens of Jedi that are not Skywalker Jedi, and so I'm fine. I'm fine leaving behind that story. The Skywalker original trilogy and then the prequels, it could have ended there for me, and this could have just been a totally new, unconnected person, and I would have been fine with it.
Yeah. You know, actually, from the writing stage of these movies, I kind of feel like they kind of kowtow to the vocal dissenters of each of the movies. So like when Force Awakens comes out, that one's pretty well received, but there are a lot of people who are very loud online saying too similar, too New Hope, too the same. And then they're like, okay, you want this. And they go hard left turn in this one. And then this one, they're like, what the hell is even this? And then they're like, oh, you want back to this. And they go hard left turn again, you know?
Well, and maybe I'm, yeah, because I'm probably guilty of that, and maybe I'm just a negative person, but I liked the similarities in Force Awakens. Was it similar to New Hope? Yep. But I think when you're introducing a legacy sequel, that's fine. I think it had enough nostalgia. We've talked about that.
Mm.
With this one, I think it would have been damaging to have two of them be too similar. You know, so if this really was too close to Empire, I think we would have been like, what are they doing here? Because they're just copying movies.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I don't know, maybe it's a lose-lose because I think people would have been pissed off if it was too similar to Empire, but clearly people were pissed off anyway because it was a complete 180. So
at this point, they're just pissed off because Star Wars. That's all.
yeah, at
That's
this
the only
point we've
prerequisite.
all become toxic haters. So
Yeah. I was born the hate train. Okay, so let's get into casting. Tanner, look how fast we're going.
12 minutes in and there's only like 2 new cast members. Woo!
Well, this is also is this the first movie that Mark Hamill was first billed?
Was he first billed?
In this one, yeah. No, I'm probably wrong. He probably was first billed in the older ones, but in terms of people who were disagreeing, speaking of people who didn't like the direction of the character, Mark Hamill really vehemently disagreed with how his character was written in this movie.
As do I.
Yeah. And in fact, he made his qualms kind of public pretty recently after this came out. Like it wasn't I mean, and maybe he was influenced by like the negativity online, and he kind of just jumped aboard, but he didn't really hide it very much that he didn't like the way it was written.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I guess I can't say I blame him because I don't like the way that Luke is portrayed in this film. I also don't know how much power he had to say, hey, like, can we maybe revisit this script and see where we're going? But
Well, didn't he also want Luke to wear Darth Vader's helmet at the end of Jedi? Didn't we talk about that? So not every
yeah,
idea
that
of
was
his is
not great
good.
either. So, you know what? Maybe Mark just has bad ideas. However, I agree with him on this one.
Well, why don't you go a little dig a little deeper? What exactly about Luke's portrayal in this movie you don't like?
I just think he feels very different than like Luke Skywalker. He feels like a different character. And I think it's fine to have, like his fear of failure, I think is fine in this movie. I think if he feels like he really did let down, Ben, and he's the reason that he went to the dark side and he failed him, then sure, that's fine to explore. And I think it's a good, character conflict to overcome. I just think that at no point in any stage of his time with Rey is he written well. Like he's just angry and kind of mean to her
Mm-hmm.
and really condescending. And from someone who was, a very like hopeful young hero type, it feels very different than where we left Luke. So I think it's hard to come right back into a Luke Skywalker story and have it be this downfall of this kind of curmudgeon-y hermit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It didn't feel like the same character to me at all. Because even towards the end where you kind of start to get Luke back a little bit, to me, it doesn't really feel like Luke. So,
Yeah, you're not alone in that. And in fact, one of my closest friends is a Gen Xer, and he grew up with the original trilogy as they were coming out. And whenever we talk about this movie, he just says, "Not my Luke Skywalker."
yeah. And I don't know. I just kind of feel like that. I feel like there's no part of old Luke left in this character.
And maybe that's like just on the writing and the presentation of him. Like, if they want him to be at this point in his life, this disposition about the Jedi Order and just being grumpy and old and sad, like, I guess the movie has to like super duper sell us on his transition from the last time we saw him in Jedi to now. Because in Jedi he ends it with like he overcomes his biggest personal demon, he makes peace with his father, and he's a pretty put together guy, Jedi. And now in this one he's like the complete opposite. He's like, caustic and sarcastic a lot.
Yeah.
And he just drinks blue tit milk
Yeah,
right
that
from the
scene is
sea
very
creature.
notable.
Yeah. They could have got that. So I get that it's hard to like to build that up, and like we get that in like the span of like a few flashbacks, like from different points of view. We get like first we get what his flashback where Kylo just goes berserk in the tent, and then he just blows Luke's fall or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then the next one, it's like Kylo's flashback, and Luke is like totally like evil and like just murderous. And then in the last one, which I guess is the true one, we get he for a second he was like doubtful, but that was all it took for him to mess up.
Well, yeah, but that's another reason, again, where I think we get into like messy storytelling, is that the entire central conflict of not only this movie, but of with like Ben Solo's character is a misunderstanding that could have been solved with 3 seconds of communication between these two people. And it's like, I just don't think that's a strong enough reason for me to believe that this entire First Order regime is on the rise because you had a misunderstanding about what you woke up to.
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with Kylo's descent into the dark side. I mean, they already kind of said that he was already there, but like if that does happen, like I don't know, like he wakes up, he thinks for a second that his master is going to murder him in his sleep, and then Kylo's like, "All right, fuck it, I'm evil now," and then he, murders everybody. They're not really going to talk about it after
No,
that.
but then Luke doesn't do anything about, he's like, oh, I woke up and, my my training temple was burned down and most of my students were killed and the rest had gone with Kylo Ren. But he doesn't try. I mean, bro, like tap into some force will, do some telepathy and be like, Ben, this was a misunderstanding. Let's talk about it. And he doesn't even
My,
try that. He just goes into exile for 20 years and never comes back. I don't know. I think it's kind of a weak story plot point for me.
yeah, and again, maybe there's just like I get that too. Like maybe it's just like missing storytelling. Like we need more build up. Like that could have been its own movie. Like of Kylo, going bad or whatever.
Yes.
If say that movie came out in between Force Awakens and Last Jedi, like, and then you also chronicled like Luke, you know, losing his faith in the Force and stuff. Like that would have made it more smooth. And I do recognize it is tough to, sell and like just like a couple flashbacks.
Sure. Which we're going to have in this episode, we're going to have these side tangents that fall into almost the review category for every casting issue. So I guess that's the problem I have with Mark Hamill's portrayal of Luke in this movie. On to the next casting person.
Well, hang on. Well, I have one more thing to say about Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
And I mean, he does noticeably look different than he did in Jedi, you know? Like this is 30 plus years later, and he also like nowadays like he always has a beard, he doesn't really look like Luke Skywalker anymore, like the clean shaven,
Well, sure,
handsome.
but you can say that about any of them because, like, Carrie Fisher does not look like, gold bikini Princess Leia, and, Harrison Ford is not the spry smuggler he once was.
Mm-hmm. But I guess like another point I wanted to make was like, you know, when you have this legacy sequel, like usually people when they other franchises when they bring back their characters, at least one of the legacy characters is, hardened and like sad and stuff over what happened over the years or whatever. And,
Mhm.
Grizzly, Dewey in Scream 5 was a drunk. And like, do you think it was the right call to make that Luke and not Han?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe not, because then I think had it become Han, that maybe would have explained his like separation from Leia a little better. Like I know that their marriage was kind of suffering because of this loss of their child, but like if he'd become, a grizzled drunk, maybe that would explain why he's like off in isolation on a separate planet and not helping Leia with like the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
So that could have been another layer there, but I don't know.
It was just a thought that I had on this rewatch is like, it might have been more natural to have Han regress into, especially in his old age, like the version of him that he was before he met, Luke and Obi-Wan and stuff.
Sure, and I think that's maybe a more believable character arc than to have like golden boy Luke do it.
Especially after your son turns to the dark side.
Yeah, I mean, like Han's got a lot more, I think, to be sad about.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I don't know how that fixes this movie in particular, but it was just a thought I had. Okay, so yeah, we're moving on now. Carrie Fisher comes back as General Organa, and the only note I have here from her is that she, speaking of the script, helped write some stuff. She was a script doctor on this movie.
Well, I don't know. Okay. Maybe she wrote herself into the coma for 80% of this movie because it was terrible. And she was like, how do I fix my character? Oh, she's asleep.
I could use a really good nap. Thanks.
Yeah, but
Okay.
they really like Laurie Strode her in this movie.
Oh my God, they did. Okay, well, Laurie Strode in Halloween Kills is a whole different beast, like doing literally nothing. But at least Leia gets to fly through space. Which, should we talk about that right now? Just to get that out of the way, because that's the thing that people hate in this movie is like her Mary Poppins moment.
The flying. I don't hate that she like accesses the Force. I think watching it looks horrible.
Yeah.
I think it's so because it really is. It's so just like silly to see. And I'm like, oh, that really pulls you out of the kind of severity of this moment. You're like, oh, okay, and it is very like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, because like Leia using the Force was always hinted at in the original trilogy that she had a connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
So her using the Force in some capacity, I feel like is another one of those like check boxes they have to do for this sequel trilogy at some point. But yeah, the actualization of it in this scene, I don't care for it. Um, and they try to like psych you out with like, because at this point we know Carrie Fisher has passed away. Unfortunately, this is like a year later after she dies, and I guess the audience at first is like, oh, is this how they're gonna do it? Is this how they're gonna write her out? Is if she gets blown up, you know? And they try to subvert that with like the no, she's still alive, she can do stuff, um but it doesn't really work for me.
No, I almost wish they would have had her like go out in like a, I don't know. Maybe I wish they would have had her just get blown up. I don't know.
Well, I think you're about to say Blaze of Glory right there. Would you have preferred if she had done the Holdo maneuver instead of Holdo at the end?
Yeah, I think I would have. I would have just rather had her go out in like a badass way. But I mean, we can talk about Laura Dern's character because I have a lot to say about that as well. So
Okay. Well, I'm just going to run down the returning cast really quick before we get into the new characters. So we got Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, Daisy Ridley back as Rey, John Boyega as Finn, Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron, Andy Serkis as Supreme Leader Snoke, Lupita Nyong'o as Maz Kanata, Dumbledore Gleeson as General Hugs, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, Gwendolyn Christie as Captain Phasma, and now, getting into the new cast, we have everyone's most welcomed, and I'm being sarcastic because everyone hates this character and they're really mean to her, is Kelly Marie Tran as Rose Tico.
do you want to get into that?
Um, sure. I mean, like in the backlash or into like the.
Well, just kind of both because I honestly didn't really remember her character a lot. Like I knew that I mean, I remember the backlash and I remember like the hate that the actress got, which I think was horrible.
Mhm.
But rewatching this movie, I'm like, I don't know why everybody hated her because like I think her storyline, I don't care for it, but I don't care for anybody's storyline in this movie. And I don't think she did anything particularly wrong. I don't think she's an overly annoying character. I don't think that, she has any plot point like faults. Her haircut's horrendous, but that's a different thing. And Kelly Marie Tran did fine. So I don't get the hate with that character.
I don't get it either, but I do know why they hate her, and it's not
Oh,
a good. It's not a good reason. Like it's just like, it's sexism. It's racism, basically. It's
well,
just. And I actually in part of my research for Force Awakens, I did not include some of the controversy with the Finn castings. I just didn't want to give lip service to it, but people were just like, "Oh, Star Wars so woke. Star Wars put, you know, black British guy into my American movie," and it's just like, dude, come on, like, I.
well, yeah.
So again, I think it's probably just the same, like people who just like, no, keep Star Wars white, and I'm like, well, the whiteness was never like one of the good things about the original trilogy. Like it was the times, people didn't really have inclusion writers back then. So,
Well, yeah. And even then, like, I don't know. I wouldn't even think of like Rose's character as like inclusion casting. I mean, maybe it was. I don't know. But because there's, to me, that character doesn't really, I mean, that character could have been a pink alien. Like, who, it doesn't really
sure.
matter. Like,
Well, and let me get into since you mentioned not inclusion casting, like, so I do have the other actors who were considered for this role, and I'll just go on the list. I've got Olivia Cook, Tatiana Maslany again, who we talked about last week for Rogue One, Gugu Mbatha Raw, and Gina Rodriguez. So kind of a little bit of everything.
a little bit of everyone.
Yeah. And I kind of like that they went with an unknown, to play her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it could have gone either way. I don't think
And,
she's like an upfront enough character for it. If it was someone that was like a little more well known, I think it'd be like, oh, hey, cool, so and so's in this.
mhm.
But her whole story in this movie is kind of just like a side quest story anyway. So
Yeah, and people also dislike the fact that, like, you take out the Finn and Rose subplot and nothing really changes in this movie.
no, not at all. But I feel like that way about the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like 5 different storylines of filler.
But let's talk about Laura Dern as Vice Admiral Holdo. And I like her. I think Laura Dern is great in everything. I don't like her hair again. I don't know why she has purple hair, but
I am a big fan of Laura Dern as well. I also was worrying about the hair. I'm like, what's the significance of this? Because it doesn't look like it's like, like an alien trait
mm-hmm.
or anything. It's like, did you just give her purple hair just to be like, oops, it's Star Wars. You got to be like a little kooky. You can't just be blonde and a regular human.
But it's not like there's a precedent for people having different color hair, like dyed hair,
No, and again, yeah, maybe just in the galaxy, people also just dye their hair. I don't know. I think
But we've
it's
never
just
seen that before.
no. So I think it's weird that they're just like, here, Laura Dern, we're going to give you purple hair in this, and that's it.
Yeah, it feels kind of random.
Yeah,
And it kind of reminded me of, like Game of Thrones, how like in the books, like everyone has like aside from like the Targaryens, of course, but like they how have like different colored hair. A lot of the like the people from Essos and stuff, like
yeah.
their purple hair, blue hair, or whatever. And then in the show, they were like we're not doing any of that. Like we're just regular hair colors, thank you.
See, but I kind of like that they did that in the show.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think it would have been weird if like, and I can't think of a particular character in the book that had different color hair, but like if I don't know, Theon just had like lime green hair, it would just take me out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. And Laura Dern has great hair, so she doesn't need a wig.
Justice for Laura Dern's real hair. Okay.
Okay, so this isn't really like a casting note, but I did find this in the IMDb trivia of Laura Dern. I just knew I had to tell you it because you find it hilarious. Is that every time she fired a blaster on set during the scenes, she said, pew, 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 pew.
Oh, see, I just wish we like her more.
Yeah. And in fact, one of the pews she says with her mouth, she vocalizes it, makes it into the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's when Poe and his band of what do you call it? Mutiny people like hold her hostage, and then she gets a gun, and then she fires back at them eventually
Yeah.
to take that. I think that's where you see it. I saw a time code, so you could see her go pew in the shot.
You know what I like too is that I remembered that she was in this movie, but I think I remembered the like plot twist with her character, or I didn't remember it because I remember thinking like, oh yeah, Laura Dern plays this like bitch in this movie, and that's all I kind of remembered about her. I was like, yeah, she's just an unlikable character.
Well,
And then we go through the movie, and then the plot twist was that she was really like disobeying, Finn and Rose and going against and Poe and all them to be like, oh, it's because she actually knows what she's doing and she's gonna try to save everybody. Yay. But I'm like, Laura Dern's whole character is just a red herring bitch. That's the whole point. They're like, oh, we figured you out because she's not actually just mean and stupid.
Well, and to speak on that, like, again, you mentioned how Luke and Ben should have just talked to each other. Like, there's no reason for Holdo to keep any of this a secret.
No, except for the fact that Poe is not her like military equivalent. So I would just be like, get the fuck out of here. You don't belong in here.
But she keeps it secret from everybody. Like,
Yeah, and I think that's because it's like even if the First Order found out like what she was trying to do, it wouldn't make any difference because they're still chasing them and shooting at them.
mhm.
So all it is a payoff for like the I don't know. It's just it feels dumb to me.
Yeah, again, like I think this script has issues internally in terms of the plot and big picture. I think this movie is thinking too small picture with like its scenes and motivations and
Yeah.
impacts of the characters. So that's one thing that bothered me on this viewing because like I think when I watched this movie the first time, I was like, oh, that was great, that was really good, and then like I watched it early before there had been a lot of reactions to it, and then everyone was like, yeah, but you take out Finn and Rose storyline, nothing happens, and like, oh, and like why isn't Holdo talking about it? And I was like, oh yeah, you're kind of right. And now watching it again, I was like, yeah.
Yeah. The whole casino planet thing, like, good lord.
Okay, and last role new casting I have here is Benicio del Toro as DJ. Not an actual DJ, that's his name, is DJ. He's not dropping sick beats.
And let's talk about Benicio because we famously talked about how he turned down Darth Maul and the Phantom Menace because it got cut to too small of like a speaking role.
Mm-hmm.
And so he exited the project and they just gave it to Ray Park because he was just standing there.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, oh, poor Benicio del Toro is like, ooh, another chance at Star Wars. I'm going to get on this. And it's like you came back as a far worse character who is, I think, like generally hated by everybody who watch it. He was horrible.
Disagree. I love him in this movie.
Oh, no, I mean, like, he does good, but I hate that character. I'm just
Disagree. I love him in this movie.
slime.
I mean, uh, yeah, he's. I think it's weird, like the subversion of like how they come across him as super contrived. Like they're going there to get like the one guy they need to help them, Justin Theroux playing craps or whatever, and then
Yeah, for
they don't
his,
get to him. They end up in the random cell with this other guy, this rando, and he's like, "Yeah, I can help you," blah 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 blah, blah. and and then he just goes from there. Like it's just kind of like coincidental, and then also he, I mean, thematically, it makes sense for the movie because like he's like the whole theme of the movie is like there's no good guys, bad guys, light side, dark side. There's just people, gray area, and he's like the embodiment of that ideal. Is that like we're just kind of out for ourselves, and if I help the Empire today and the Rebels tomorrow, like who cares? It's just what it is.
yeah, but I still think it's just insane plot armor to have it be so I mean, he's a criminal. Like, he might be saying whatever he wants to say for them to let him out of a jail cell. So when he's like, yeah, I'm not like, your master lockpick guy that you're looking for, but I can pick your lock. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I'd say that too if someone's going to bust me out of here. So, like, the fact that he even does go as far as helping them and, like, picking that lock, I'm just like, well, that's just insanely coincidental. Do you keep all the lock picks in the same cell block?
Yeah. And he's just like ready to go too. As soon as like they mention like their plan, he's just like, "Come on, let's go." Like I was just sleeping off a hangover down here, but now that we have something to do,
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems a little too easy for me.
how do you feel about his stutter?
I mean, fine, I guess. I don't know why it's necessary, but I guess,
It's a character trait. It's just a choice.
yeah, if that was, I mean, it's why did they give him that weird voice in Guardians of the Galaxy as where he's like, bravo, bravo. Like, did he have to do that? I don't know, but he did. So
Okay,
sure.
okay, but that was the collector in Thanos' reality stone. It wasn't really him in that
It doesn't
sequence.
matter.
maybe that's just Del Toro kind of like, okay, if I'm gonna do like a Marvel or a Star Wars, I have to make it interesting for me.
Yeah, he just always seems to have to be like eccentric with these characters, which is fine.
Yeah. The only casting option I had for this one, and this is someone they never were going to get, I can't believe they even thought they were, was Joaquin Phoenix as DJ.
Yeah, that's a big no.
Yeah, speaking of people who like wouldn't be interested in doing this.
No.
He actually passed on the role himself. He even got offered it and he was like, "No, I'm not doing that."
No.
Yeah. Okay. And let's get into the rest of the cast. We got Frank Oz coming back for a hot sec as Yoda in a surprise cameo. We've got Eunice Suotamo as Chewbacca again. Billy Lord getting more to do as Lieutenant Connix. More to say, I guess that is. BB-8, again, initial voice work by Ben Schwartz, final sound effects by Bill Hader. Jimmy V is R2-D2. Tanner, is there any other supporting people you want to talk about?
Well, I think that BB-8 was very clearly no longer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was he was a practical effect in Force Awakens, and in this one, I'm assuming he wasn't because he looks fake.
No, it's still practical.
Oh, all right. Well,
The only time it didn't look practical to me, and it was like obviously CGI, was when when Poe's ship at the beginning of the movie in the first battle sequence gets like tampered with, and BB has to go like in the system to like fix it.
mm-hmm.
Like that looked very like I don't know how they would have filmed that not CGI, but
Okay. And maybe I was just looking at like those action shots and thinking like, oh, this looks more fake than last time.
actually,
Um,
yeah.
who else in supporting? There was some. Oh, Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that feels very out of character for me. I like
That's
that they brought him back, and I like his conversation with Luke, sure. But then, when Luke's like, "I'm gonna burn it all down. I'm gonna burn this tree down, and I'm gonna burn the sacred texts,"
mm-hmm.
and then he like goes to stop himself, and then Yoda like lights it on fire, and he's basically like, "Fuck it, burn it all, start over." And I'm like, I just don't think that Yoda would. Yoda was like he was the one that was always preaching like, oh, the old ways and the old art of the Jedi, and you have to like respect the Force, and the Jedi way is almost like a path of religion. Like you have to be very devout to it, and if you have faith in the Force, it will return its favor on you. Like that's his kind of character to me. And so for him to just be like, "Fuck it, pal, burn it, let's do it," I'm like, this seems weird.
True, but before Luke, like failed and went into exile and got cynical, Yoda kind of did that too. I mean, not cynical, but he did go into exile and go crazy. So like, maybe somewhere along the way there, he was like, yeah, maybe we fucked up. Like the whole Jedi, you know, system.
Yeah, but then he doesn't do that with Luke when Luke is going through the training. I don't know. We can get back into those plot points when we are in the review section because I have more to say on like the training aspect of this. But I don't know. It felt weird. I'm glad Yoda was there. I did notice they went back to puppet Yoda and not
Yes.
CGI Yoda. So now the continuity there is kind of weird.
Yeah, that was the one thing that like everyone loved when it came out. Like, oh, and they brought my puppet Yoda. And for me, it was jarring because I'm like, well, now he's back to puppet after he was CGI. But
And
then
then after you even went back and like retconned him from being puppet in Phantom Menace to being CGI, like, they even went back to almost cover up that he was puppeteered. And now they're like, oh, we're going to make him a puppet again because people will love it.
I don't mind it anymore on the second rewatch. This time I was more okay with it. And I read that they did that deliberately because that's how Luke would have remembered him as being a
Yeah.
puppet, So to have Luke be confronted by the CGI version of Yoda that he never met, or at least we don't associate him with that, would have been weird. So I don't mind it anymore. I still think I still think the whole scene is a little bit jarring, but I don't mind the choice anymore. Okay, let's get into, because this is a Star Wars movie, we got plenty of cameos. We've got Of course, as I mentioned, Justin Theroux as the real master codebreaker for a hot second, but he's too busy playing Baccarat or whatever. Space Baccarat. Since this is a Rian Johnson movie, we have the obligatory Joseph Gordon-Levitt cameo as Sloan Lowe, an alien. He's the one that rats out Finn and Rose when they like park illegally on the beach.
Didn't recognize him.
Well, he had, of course, Looper and Brick, previous Rian Johnson movies. And so now it's like a thing whenever Rian Johnson does a movie, like in the Knives Out movies, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt has a voice cameo somewhere. Speaking of Rian Johnson friends, we got Noah Segan, who's also in all the Knives Out movies as Resistance pilot Stark. We've got your obligatory Warwick Davis cameo as Wotabin. You've got a few director cameos in Gareth Edwards, director of Rogue One, Edgar Wright, and Joe Cornish as Resistance soldiers. Tanner, you might get a kick out of this. I mean, is there really any higher calling cameo-wise than Prince William and Prince Harry in this movie?
Are they both in this movie?
They're stormtroopers.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like I remembered hearing something about that.
Yeah, they're just, they, of course, they grew up with Star Wars too, like us, a little bit older than us, obviously, but they love Star Wars and they visited the set and they got put into costume.
Oh,
So the future King of England is in this movie and his brother.
look at that, you guys. Privilege really does pay off. When you're royalty, you really get whatever you want.
And yeah, when like this film was entirely shot in England, pretty much, they just show up.
Yeah.
One cameo that was cut was Tom Hardy as a stormtrooper as well. That's the last one I have.
But you could also just say that he was still a stormtrooper in that movie, and who's going to know because they're all wearing helmets.
Yeah. And who even knows what Tom Hardy actually even looks like? He's always hiding his face anyway. So stormtrooper,
yeah,
perfect for him.
I've never seen his face for more than like 8 minutes in a movie.
All right, let's get into filming. So they go back to Skellig Michael in Ireland, where they shot the Luke stuff from the last movie. First, they do second unit photography there. They go there because it's in season, and then if they wanted to go back out of season, it would be nuts. But I did have a note about the Porgs. Tanner, before I get the Porgs, the little puffin like aliens.
Oh, the little silly thing that screams when Chewbacca's eating a roast one of them.
Yes.
Yeah, that was annoying to me.
Would it make it better if the only reason that they're in the movie is because when they were filming there in Ireland, there were actual puffins everywhere, and it was cheaper to, rather than just get rid of them, just CGI over them.
So they just made all the puffins like a different alien.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of I think that's kind of a fun fact.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, they're cute. Like if you want to add something in there for like kids, like they're cute, but there was a couple times that there was just kind of some like silliness in this movie, and it felt a little like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, like what Chewbacca is like roasting. Is he eating a porg? Like
it doesn't really like tell you what he's eating, but it's the same size. Like it very much insinuates that he is eating one of them, and that's where the other one's like, oh, like,
but he's already killed it. Like if it is a porg, just eat it. It's already dead.
Well, yeah, but he was doing it in front of another one, so
yeah.
I will say though that with like the silliness of it, there was one time that I laughed in this movie, and it worked because we were talking about kind of the Marvelization of like everything kind of becomes like a comedy movie.
Yeah,
and I really actually did like when Luke was trying to teach Rey how to like use the Force, and she had her eyes closed and her hands were out, and he like tickles her with his blade of grass, and he's like, "Close your eyes. Do you?" And she's like, yes, I do feel something. I do. And he's like, yes, that's the Force. And she's like, oh, I feel like what's going to happen next? And then she opens her eyes and it's like a blade of grass. Like that actually made me laugh, but good on Daisy Ridley because she had really good line delivery in that.
That kind of felt like almost like an ad lib moment between them.
Yes, but it was fun. And I was like, okay, I liked that.
If only the whole movie with their relationship was as interesting to watch as that scene.
That's actually the only time I like them together in this movie.
Yeah, they don't really gel. I'll say that. I thought you were gonna say when the rock falls down the mountain and like those milkmaid aliens, like their cart gets destroyed and they're like, my
Oh,
cabbages.
the poor little frog nun ladies.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that was funny too.
I just heard my cabbages when that
My
happened.
cabbages.
All right, let's get into okay. So principal photography of this movie starts in February of 2016 and lasts until July of that year. They had to delay the movie by a month production wise due to rewrites. Big surprise. Tana, I don't really know why, but the working title of this movie was Space Bear.
Space Bear?
Yeah, Space Bear. Working title.
Oh.
I don't
Well,
I don't really see it.
no, but I also, maybe it's because, if they want to keep things under wraps, like if someone was shooting a movie called Space Bear, would I be like, oh, we got to go see? I'd be like, no.
Yeah, but usually like with the working titles, they try to be clever with it, you know? Like it's like a
But
theme
Tim,
from
I
the
don't think,
movie, but there's no bear in this movie. Like what's the bear?
I don't know. I don't think that anybody at any part of any stage of production on this movie was clever at all.
Okay, I'll
It's
let it go.
awful.
I'll let it go. They shoot in their first shooting location is Dubrovnik in Croatia, which is where they shoot the Canto Bite sequences, which I was surprised because that looked like it just one big set the whole time.
Yeah, where it that was a location shoot because it looked totally fake.
Apparently. Tangent though, you know what I think of every time I hear Dubrovnik? I think of Rosemary's Baby when Rosemary like finds the spoiler alert, finds the Satan party at the very end, and one of the guys tries to talk to her, but he previously said that he was, on vacation, and she's like, I can't hear you, you're in Dubrovnik.
Because that's where he went on vacation.
Yeah, that's supposedly where he went on vacation was Dubrovnik.
I can't do your Dubrovnik.
Okay, so yeah, they also go back to Ireland for Octo, the Luke sequences, of course. They also go to Bolivia at the Salar de Uyuni salt flats. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Where they shot location filming for Crate, the salt planet at the very end. And you know what? Like, I like they're still finding like cool places to shoot. Like I don't like everything about that sequence. I don't like the diamond foxes, but I like the look of that planet.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine.
It's fine.
It is what it is.
Sure. For reshoots, they shot 2 months of reshoots from June to August of 2016. They must have shot all of the Maz Kanata like hologram scene because she hadn't filmed anything before that. Also, kind of a waste of Maz Kanata in this movie, but whatever.
I feel like they literally just tried to throw her in it where they could.
Yeah.
And why is she? It doesn't ever explain what she's doing because like they call her and she's like clearly fighting off, an army of things, and it's like, what is happening? Where is she?
But her camera that like records her is like following her. It has like she's rolling around, but the camera still knows where to go to like record the.
Yeah, it's like she has like a cameraman who's like, like,
yeah,
I don't know. It was just right after that scene, I was like, well, that was confusing and didn't answer any questions I have. But okay, I'm glad Lupita's back.
In reshoots, they also went back to refilm a lot of Holdo's scenes with Poe to make her less abrasive.
You guys, the red herring bitch has to be less of a bitch. I don't think that worked because she's still pretty abrasive.
Well, again, just poor communication. But and they also in reshoots added more Broom Boy and his friends.
Who's Broom Boy?
Broom Boy at the very end of the movie when like
God, like the whole hopeful Jedi thing.
The kid grabs the broom with the Force.
Yes.
He's known as Broom Boy.
Terrible.
Awful. Hate it.
I hate everything about it. I hate that kid.
No, I don't hate it actually. We'll go into that though. Post production. This actually, Tanner, it's funny that you asked if BB-8 was CGI because I found a note that this had the most practical effects in any Star Wars movie.
I just don't know if I believe that.
I don't see it.
You can tell me it's true, but I can't tell you where.
Yeah, I'm fair. I wouldn't have thought that either. And of course, as always in the post production, we talk about how John Williams comes back to once again score the movie, keeping the aliens from the planet Vulcan at bay and saving our planet for another solar cycle.
And again, giving us nothing to write home about. No offense to John Williams. I just feel like he's here out of obligation and he's doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything like super.
No, because again, I can't think of in this movie any like epic score pieces that stand out,
No. Oh yeah, well, let's move on. Let's move on to our review section of the movie. Let's tear this thing apart, Tanner.
Oh, Tim, listeners, this movie is a Star Wars The Last Jedi, and really it's just Star Wars and my last nerve. Because I was so frustrated. Flames on the side of my face. Burning, heaving breaths. I mean, it is what it is, you guys. I don't like to be toxic. There's a very little of this movie that I like. I think a lot of it does not work. I really do think that it feels like 5 different plot points that don't actually progress the overall story anywhere. I mean, I know everybody said it to death about the Finn and Rose thing, but you could take that out and it makes no difference to the story. I also think in the overall progression, like, where have we gotten with the First Order by the end of this movie? Because you've done nothing to like delay them. It's all like a personal growth film. And yet even then I feel like there's very little personal growth. Because even like the Rey and the Luke training storyline, I just feel like she spends most of her time trying to convince Luke to not be hopeless and to not give up. And she's not actually getting any training. Like, it shows her, use the Force with him like once to move a rock. Great. Good for her. And then she's shown practicing with her lightsaber by herself, not with a Jedi Master, against a rock that is a standalone rock that can't fight back. So it's like, good for you that you can spar with a rock. And then at the end of the movie, she has this insane battle with Kylo Ren, which I will get to because that's actually one of the only scenes I like in this movie. But it's like, where did she learn these skills? Because in the first movie, all I did was bitch about her consistent thrust and parry with no parry because she doesn't know how to fight. And now all of a sudden she's like a master swordsman. And I'm like, you didn't get that training though, because you spent all your time convincing Luke to like pull himself out of the gutter and he didn't actually help you. So I don't know. I have a lot of problems with this movie. I don't like it. I don't think it's particularly enjoyable to watch. There's about 3 scenes I like.
Well, let's break it down because, like you said, there's like 5 different movies in this movie. So let's break it down by subplot, and we can start with the Rey Luke sequences. And you're right. I mean, like, she doesn't really learn a whole lot while she's there. I mean, she does that thing with the rocks on the planet with him, and then that pays off with her moving the rocks to get the rebellion out, I guess. But aside from that, it's mostly they're clashing in terms of, ideals and, her wanting him to be the version of him that he was in the rebellion in the Civil War. And he's just not that, he's just kind of like, whatever, Rey, you can swing a stick in a rock for a while.
Yeah.
So good. You can do it. And yeah, so she doesn't really get a lot of training in this movie. So I do get where you're coming from there, that she's a little bit, again, too skilled coming out of it. But I kind of feel like this is more Luke's movie than hers anyway. So,
but I feel like if that's your intention to make this like a a final Luke story, you can't wholly ignore your main protagonist to then have her wrap up the next movie as like I don't believe that her progression is realistic.
Well, she trained with Leia in the next one, I think.
But like again, Leia, who was never formally trained as like a Jedi or a Force user or a lightsaber duelist.
She was trained a little bit for a hot sec, and if we see a flashback in the next movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right though. Still, like, she doesn't get a lot of training. But okay, let's talk about Luke Skywalker though and his journey here. Like, and I guess the whole theme of the movie is like forget the past. Like, like the Jedi, don't mythologize it so much that it's like immaculate, and don't be hung up over your mistakes forever. Move on, form a new system of learning the Force and stuff like that. So in that sense, I like the movie. I think that Luke's journey is good. Like when Luke dies at the end of this movie, and he turns into a robe. I was very satisfied with that when I first saw this movie. Like that the dual sunsets again. You hear the music again, the classic Star Wars theme, and then he vanishes like because of how much energy he used to do that trick. Like that's really satisfying for me for his end of his story.
Yeah, I don't have like a huge problem with that, I guess. I mean, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
And
The way that they wrap him up, I guess, is fine. I wish he had become maybe a little more soft, like earlier, but
sure. And people always harp on like, oh, you're always inventing new force powers in these movies, especially the next one. We'll talk about that. But like I really do like the force projection like across the galaxy for him. Like for the final battle scene. Like I think that's really a really cool like way to go out for Luke is to like debut this new ability that's like super impressive and like takes a lot of energy.
mm-hmm.
And so I think when he vanishes, like that's a pretty cool moment, and he outwits Kylo. It doesn't have to out duel him or anything, or like he doesn't have to like fast travel across the galaxy like people do
Yeah.
to get there on time. So, and he has that one last moment with Leia. So I like the end of this movie for him.
Yeah, I think it's a fine wrap up for Luke.
Okay, let's pivot to Rose and Finn a little bit. We talked about how their subplot is meaningless. I mean, yes, it is. Like, it doesn't affect a whole lot, but I think that's also kind of the point because I think Rian Johnson, as a filmmaker, has always been very subversive. Like, if you watch the Knives Out movies too, like those are very, trying to upend the typical murder mystery tropes that we've seen a lot for a long time. And, he's doing the same thing here too. Like he's always trying to keep you on your toes as a viewer and have things not go the way that you think they should go or would go. So to have Finn and Rose go through all this rigmarole to get this guy, only for him to betray them, and then the rebels to figure out they never really needed him to begin with, it is intentionally subversive. Whether or not that works for you is based on your own mileage. But for me, I mean, I guess it comes down to for me, like, is it fun to watch their sequences, like their escapades on Canto Bight and whatnot? And for me, it's a little bit of a mixed bag because that's not like the best part of the movie anyway. Like even if it did matter, like all the stuff there, like their horse racing with the giant, llama horses or whatever, like it's just not the most fun sequences. So I think if it was better filmed and scripted, I would have more fun with it. But I kind of feel like they didn't really know what to do with Finn in general in this movie and the next one too. Like after the first one, they have no idea what to do with Finn, and I think that was probably the biggest issue scripting his part of the movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it just because again, if you have a fun subplot, I don't mind it. I just I agree that I don't feel like it was very fun or different or funny, or I don't know. It was just kind of there.
Yeah. Would you have preferred if Finn, like, so I remember watching it the first time in theaters, and I was like, I kind of might have preferred if Finn sacrificed himself there. Not because like I wanted him to die, but just because I kind of felt like even then I felt like the movie didn't really know what to do with him as a character. And whenever you come across a character like that, like whenever you have to kill somebody off, you have to think about it in terms of like, what is this character doing for the story? Can they mean more in death than they can in life, to the rest of the characters, right? What's gonna have the best impact on the story? And the first time watching, I was kind of like, yeah, he could have died. I would have been fine with that.
Like right there at the end of that horse race sequence.
No, sorry. When he tries to like charge the battering beam ram on the salt planet, and then Rose
Oh,
sideswipes him, and she's like, "We're not gonna win by saving what we or killing what we hate. We're gonna win by saving what we love."
which I think is a terrible line. But I but okay, yeah, well, I was gonna say, I really wouldn't have wanted him to die at the horse race thing because that seems like a throwaway.
Oh no, sorry, that was not where I was going with that. No.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think it would have been fine had that been, like, the big payoff, but I think I would not have liked it if he died there and then the rest of the movie stayed the same because then it kind of negates, like, Luke's sacrifice, you know?
That's true. That's
Like,
true.
I wouldn't want 2 major characters to, like, sacrifice themselves in this one scene.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair.
So, like, if the whole point of that scene was for Finn to save them by, like, destroying that ram, sure. Like, I would have been okay with him dying there too, I guess. I wouldn't want them both to do it.
True. That's a good point. And I guess, like, in terms of the line you mentioned, that was a bad line. Um, I don't know if I disagree with like the sentiment there. I like the idea that the resistance should be, you know, focused on saving themselves instead of destroying the First Order. Like that makes sense to me. But there's not a whole lot of like setup for that revelation in their whole subplot. Like
Yeah.
if that was seeded in to like their dynamic throughout the whole movie, it might pay off better, but it kind of doesn't. And then they have that weird kiss that is like platonic, I guess, but not really. I don't.
Yeah, I don't like that either because I don't know, I go back and forth. Like, they don't feel like a romantic couple to me,
Hmm.
and sometimes I don't like when you have, like, a male and female character, and because they go through a subplot together, the instinct is to be like, "Well, they have to be a couple now." And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, "No, I believe that they could have been, like, platonic friends and been just as successful."
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't like the kiss. I mean, if you're gonna make them a couple, sure, whatever. I don't have a problem with them as a couple for any reason. I just feel like sometimes it's nice for them to go through this together and just be like friends and fellow soldiers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like Rogue One did. Well, yeah, I mean, that's actually not true.
What? Why isn't
Because
it
I feel
true?
like, well, because I feel like with Andor and Jin or so, there is kind of like a spark with them.
Sort of, but they don't actually like kiss at the end. They just kind of hold hands.
Okay, all right. Well, then I go back to it. So yeah, like they were just like two people doing what they had to do for the greater good, and they were just like platonic soldiers and friends, and yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I
I
agree with
mean, did
that.
it work out for them? No. But
No, they got obliterated.
yeah, they were violently killed. However,
Okay, well, let's shift over to the third subplot of this movie, which is the Holdo and Poe stuff. And I kind of mentioned in the last and the Force Awakens episode that like I felt like they kind of didn't really know what to do with Poe in that movie because well, or at least they decided not to do anything with him because they like supposedly killed him off like a fake out death and then he was gone from the rest of the movie. So in this one, I do like what they do with him as like this, cocksure kind of hotshot pilot who like clashes with authority.
mhm.
Like I like that like conceptually for him. and then he has to like learn that like, there is a plan. But I guess again, this is probably a conceptual issue with the fact that yes, like I like their clashing, their conflict, but it is, built on the fact that it's just poor communication,
Yeah.
or
And
no
I mean,
communication.
I guess that story kind of leaves a little bit of like intrigue because you don't know really what like Laura Dern's character is going to do or what her end game is, or if she is just kind of like a selfish coward. I just think that like the twist at the end, it's not really a twist that pays off for me. Like I like what she does and I like her sacrifice. And I think that's cool. But just the whole buildup of she has no character trait other than she's kind of a bitch. And Poe's just like, hey everybody, she's horrible. And she's like, oh, just kidding. I'm actually not horrible. And you're gonna thank me later. Like, I don't know.
Well, speaking of like abilities that no one knew existed before, the idea that you can go into hyperspace through a ship and then it can destroy the rest of the ships around it as well. How do you feel about that? Because that kind of changes a lot about how space conflict works in Star Wars.
Well, I think that just makes hyperspace terrifying. Like, the jump to hyperspace seems terrifying every time because you don't know, like, where you're gonna come out at. If you make a jump to hyperspace and then it stops and you pop up right in front of a ship and crash into it,
Mm-hmm.
like, so to me, I would think that the ship would have some kind of override system that would say, we're unable to jump to hyperspace because there's an obstacle in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that why she had to stay behind? Is because there had to be one person on the ship to override that?
I don't think they ever talk about like overriding that part of it. She just stays on the ship to make the jump to hyperspace.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like a really easy, like, get out of jail kind of thing. To just hyperspace your ship into the rest of the fleet, like as
Yeah.
an easy victory, you know?
I also don't like that in that scene, there's way too many of those transport ships get blown up in the like 8 minute because it keeps going back and forth and showing it almost looks like the same group shot of ships getting blown up. But
Mm.
I'm like, you only had 12 ships launch from the original Starfighter. And then it shows at least 9 of them get shot out of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the rebels land because of her sacrifice, I'm like, you should only have like 3 ships left and like 30 people. So what's happening? Because then there's a lot more of them than I think there should be.
Maybe. I didn't really think of it. I didn't really notice, but that'd be right. Again, like I think, and now that I'm thinking about it, like if Holdo's entire arc had just been Leia instead, might be more impactful.
Yeah, I think I would have liked it more. No
Like,
offense to Laura Dern, I love her.
but like
But
if you just cut out Holdo and just put in Leia as like the person in command the whole time and doing all that stuff, like,
yeah, without the pseudo, like, is she going to be a cat? Because I think that's kind of
right.
Leia's biggest character trait, I think, is that she's always been like a rebel for the greater good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
She's always willing to make a sacrifice. She always puts herself in danger. So I think if she's the person that needs to do that to save everybody and to like really save the rebellion, I think that'd be a good way for her to go out.
Yeah.
Ooh, Tim, I never thought about that before, but I
But
really do
again,
think I'd like it better if that had been her story.
they weren't counting on the fact, I shouldn't say counting on, but they didn't know that Carrie Fisher was going to die, so
Well,
they
yeah.
were planning on having the ninth movie be her kind of big movie and have her big moment. So, and I think if they were going to do that, then we probably would want to save the whole Luke sacrifice thing for the next one too, because I think, to have both of them sacrifice themselves would be superfluous,
Yeah.
um, but it would have been cool. It's a cool idea, I think, for Leia to go out that way,
Yeah.
and it's better than what we actually do get. So, not that that's anyone's fault, but it's just,
Well,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Okay, let's talk about Kylo and Rey's throne room battle. I like we're speaking of subversions in the script. I do like that they kill off Snoke in this movie, and they don't like build him up to be just the next emperor, like in the next movie, to mirror that. I do like that he surprisingly dies. I think that the staging of that that twist is stupid because you can see it from coming from a mile away. They really telegraph like, oh, the lightsaber is turning. Oh, and now he strikes down his true enemy. And we're like, yeah, dude, that's you. You like we know. Like
Yeah. But yeah, I do too. I like that scene. I think that the whole character of Snoke for me is weird
Mhm.
because it to me it doesn't ever explain, unless I missed it. It doesn't ever explain like where he came from or why he is like a like force user or like a Sith or whatever.
Well, you get an explanation in the next movie
Well, I
because
don't want to ruin the next movie.
right. But even at this point in them making this movie, they didn't know that yet.
Yeah, and
So,
as a viewer, when you only have watched Force Awakens and this one, because after I watched it in theaters, I was like, well, I feel kind of let down because I don't know what Snoke's whole deal was. Like, I don't
mhm.
know who he really is. I don't know why he had any power over Kylo Ren or why he was a Sith or what's going on. So I felt kind of like, well, okay. The throne room battle though, I I think it's cool. I like the aesthetic of it.
Mhm.
I think the red guards are cool. Again, like, I like that it's kind of their, like, buddy moment, but yeah, I think it's choreographed well. I just think it's kind of funny that Rey is now, like, an expert, you know, swordsman.
Mhm.
That's my only complaint, but I do think it's a cool scene and a cool fight.
It's also the high point of the movie for me as well. That battle with the Praetorian guards. Like I love their costuming design
Uh-huh.
and how like when one of them like explodes, he turns into like little like shards of plastic from his suit.
I
um,
do I did kind of feel like I almost wish that that was, like, the end of the movie, though. And to go into the whole Salt Planet thing, I feel like it just felt like it was dragging, and it was less that was less of a emotional buildup to me than the Snoke throne room thing, so I was just kinda like, "Oh, I just wish we were done here."
okay. Uh, so I have a take. You know how they say like we can criticize movies all the time for like not having a good story, but we can't always like, and we always say like, I mean, I don't know what they should have done, but I just don't like this.
But you
Um,
do know what they should have done?
no, I have a pitch. I have a pitch. But before I get into
You heard
that,
it here first. Tim's hot takes.
no, this is one of my things. But before I get into that, I just want to mention the last thing about this that the staging of the sequence. I love how like the backdrop, the red walls and floor and stuff like that has kind of like no end to it or whatever. It almost looks like a a set from like a dance sequence in like a Gene Kelly musical, where
Uh-huh.
like it would be like it would turn into like a fantasy kind of dance sequence and it would have that kind of set and I love that design. I love that in this movie. It's really cool.
Me too, Tim, look at you. Thank you for bringing up something from old Hollywood because I had the same feeling.
Like it doesn't like need to be there, but I just love I think that the production design really was inspired to do that sequence. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of what I think this movie should have, I agree. I think this movie should end after the clone. Sorry, not the clone. The guard fight sequence after Snoke dies. I think okay. So here I'm just gonna pitch the ending of this movie. So everything is the same up through they kill all the guards. They tag team the guards, and then Kylo is giving Rey the Darth Vader pitch from Empire, like join me and we will be you know we can rule the galaxy together. And instead of Rey saying no, in my head version that I think would be better is she says yes. And that's like your cliffhanger into the next movie. So it's another subversion because this movie's very subversive, so it would fit in that regard to have the end of this movie be the opposite of Empire, where the hero actually says yes, and it would build up the idea that I feel like they went away from this like cool idea of it not being so much dark side, light side, and that's it, but like there's more of a gray area between these characters, and I really wish that the next movie would be about like okay, forget Snoke, he's dead. Kylo is like the final villain. There's no Emperor. It's just Kylo. He's the villain. And then you have your protagonist Rey in the next movie, like she's with him, like obviously she's not sure about him, but she's with him for now, like to keep a leash on him or whatever. And they're
Mhm.
kind of having this like dance of like, no, we should do this or no, we should do that, because there is a connection between them. That the whole movie is, set that up. So, like, I think the next movie would have been really interesting to go into that, like having Rey be kind of on the bad side, but not like she doesn't turn bad, but she is, very close to Kylo and trying to influence him on the inside. Like I just think that like if this movie ended with that note of Rey being the final rejection of this idea of the light side, the dark side, and say, you know what? No, I do have a connection with you, Kyle, even though you're kind of a mass murderer. Like I do have a connection with you. I am going to go with you because I do think that we can do good things together. What that ends up being, we'll figure it out. But like, and then you have like the conflict of like the resistance being like, Ray, what the fuck? Like why are you over there? Like, and Finn's like, what the fuck, Ray? Like, why? What are you doing? I thought you were turning evil now. And she's like, no, 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 no. I'm not evil. It's not about evil and bad. So anyway, that's my idea.
Well, and congratulations also.
Thank you.
I like that because so much of this movie is her telling, Luke, like, if I go to him, I know I can turn him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's very much trying to save him at whatever kind of cost to herself. And there's a lot of her kind of like flirting with the temptation of the dark side in this, because with the whole cave mouth orifice thing, like, like, she goes into there and then Luke's like, oh, you didn't even try to fight it. You just went right to it. Oh, and he gets all like freaked out about it. It's like, yeah, but then we don't really explore her kind of toying with, like, I think that would have been a cool way to go, because then it explains like why she's kind of so open to her like connection with the dark side of the force and her like desperate need to kind of like save Kylo.
Mm-hmm.
Good on you, Tim. Be a screenwriter.
Thank you. Let me save Star Wars, Disney.
Let me say it's too late, but he could have done it, folks. He could have done it.
Okay, but before we move on from the review section, there's one more part I want to talk about in terms of like things that people hate from this movie. Is the beginning when you have the continuation of the last scene from Force Awakens when Luke throws the lightsaber behind him,
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I don't love it. You mean
Mhm.
like how then this one starts and they're like, oh, it's just on the cliff.
Yeah, like it is because people when they say not my Luke Skywalker, like that him throwing the lightsaber away was like insulting to them.
Oh yeah, I don't like it either. I think it was one of those kind of like forced humor moments.
Mhm.
So I'm not a fan of it.
Okay, I like it. I think I think like it like again it's like a subversive like humor thing of like because how are you gonna follow up like that dramatic moment from the first movie, like of him being handed the lightsaber, like him being like, oh yes, thank you, this is so good, let's train, like, I don't know how to write that, but I don't know, I don't mind it.
I mean, all right.
It's just one moment that I thought we should talk about before. All right, Tanner, let's get into your favorite part, the box office.
Yeah, it's nap time, guys.
Opening day, this movie makes $104.8 million, which today would be 141.2. This movie opened alongside Ferdinand, the blue sky movie about the bull who does not want to be a bull.
Okay, that's actually a good movie.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's John Cena, if I'm not mistaken, voicing the
Uh-huh.
bull. Yeah. I don't really have a good Barbenheimer title for this one. I just put Ferdinand the Jedi.
Yeah.
They don't have the same sounds, like vowel sounds, so I couldn't really
Was
find a
that
good.
was that the only thing that came out?
That day, yes. That week, yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what it opened against, was just Ferdinand
okay.
as your counter programming, I guess. So yeah, Ferdinand the Jedi is a story about a bull who is a Jedi and he doesn't want to be a Jedi. He just wants to sniff flowers, and he can't hold the lightsaber in between his hoofs anyway. So
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes, please.
Just as we were talking about that, I am trying to catch up on Amy Poehler's Good Hang podcast,
Mm-hmm.
which everybody knows about because
Right.
it's like the best podcast out there right now. Hey, Amy.
Yeah.
Um,
Besides ours.
well, besides ours, hey. So she was just talking about, I don't remember the episode. She might have been talking to, I don't remember. Anyway, they were talking about box office numbers and kind of getting buried at the box office, even though you have a very good project.
Mm-hmm.
And she had said, she's like, oh yeah, I did a movie. Me and Tina did a little movie called Sisters. And she goes, and I think it opened against a Star Wars movie. And she was like, so, we just got totally buried,
Yeah.
And then all I could think of it was like, oh, Star Wars sister. What was your thing for that?
Star Wars.
Sis Star Wars. And I was just like, oh, hang in there, Amy, because Sisters was great. I just thought it was funny that we had talked about that. And then Amy Poehler herself was like, ooh, girl, we tried to open against a Star Wars movie and it did not work out well.
Yeah, Ferdinand a little bit more as the only like animated movie, a little more Star Wars proof than Sisters. But
Well,
anyway, so this movie makes opening weekend $220 million, which today would be almost $300 million. In the top 10, you also have Ferdinand, of course, Coco, the Pixar movie Wonder, not Wonder Woman that came out that year, just Wonder, and not Wonderstruck that also came out that year, just Wonder, and not Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman that also came out that year, just Wonder.
Just Wonder with Jennifer Garner.
No, that's Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, shit. Hang on.
Wrong, Jennifer. Wait, who? Wait, is it? Wait, Wonder. Is that Jennifer Aniston in the movie? No, it's Julia Roberts.
It's Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts.
I was like, I remember what the movie was about, and I remember that it was Owen Wilson, but for some reason, thought it was a Jennifer Garner story. Never mind. Sorry, Julia and Jennifer.
No Jennifers in this movie, apparently. Also the top 10, Justice League, the first one, the bad one. Daddy's Home 2, both of them are the bad ones. Thor Ragnarok, the good one.
Yeah, good one.
The Disaster Artist, which I really like that movie. I know that came out like right before Franco got canceled, but I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Murder on the Orient Express, the first of the Kenneth Branagh Poirot movies, was also in the top 10.
Also a Daisy Ridley movie.
Oh, yeah, good point. And also Lady Bird, starring Saoirse Ronan.
Oh, I love that movie.
Great movie. The only thing interesting about 2002 that's a palindrome. Anyway, Last Jedi is number 1 at the box office for 3 weekends until weekend number 4. And in fact, it falls to number 3 that weekend, behind the 3rd week of Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which came out the week. That's a good one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That one came out actually after Star Wars, but it had better holds afterwards. So not in the first 2 weekends, it wasn't number 1, but eventually crawled up to number 1 over Star Wars because I remember when this happened, like when The Last Jedi came out, everyone was like, well, this sucks. Like, let's not go back and see this again. Let's go see Jumanji and The Greatest Showman, and those ones got like really big boosts like into January, and became like back end hits.
Oh.
Yeah, because like the Star Wars Last Jedi didn't really do well in like the later weeks,
Yeah.
Because people weren't going again to see it.
Okay, question. So back up. Lady Bird came out in 2017 with this movie, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was in week 7 at this point, but yes.
So then, was Mary Queen of Scots 2018?
Yes.
Ah.
That was the
Tim,
next...
will you just do the listeners a favor and just go through Saoirse Ronan's line delivery of Mary Queen of Scots?
You murdered your sister and you murdered your queen. Murder.
You guys, if you don't know us, we often quote Saoirse Ronan for only that line of that movie. It's the only part of it I love.
Murder.
And if it's not Saoirse Ronan saying murder in her Scottish accent, then it's the SNL parody of Mayor of Easttown with Murder Dirter.
Murder Dirter. You know, murders is a fun word to say. I mean, I know it's a sad word, but like,
Yeah,
they, they,
nobody likes a murder, but we love a murder parody.
oh, I do love a good murder.
A murder?
A murder on the Orient Express.
Anyway, we can go back now.
Anyway, so weekend number 4 of Last Jedi, it also falls behind, because it lands number 3, so it falls behind Jumanji and the opening weekend of Insidious: The Last Key, the 4th movie of the Insidious.
The Insidious.
I hated that movie. That was the last movie that I saw for free when I was still working for Regal, and then I was like, bye, I'm out. But I'm gonna see
And
Insidious
also,
first.
Insidious: The Last Key. It was not the last Insidious movie, so
No.
should have been.
Nope. Insidious 6 coming out this August, everybody. Anyway, so Last Jedi makes domestically total of $620.2 million, which today would be $835.5, so less than Force Awakens. It is number 2 domestically, or sorry, no, number 1 domestically of the year. Last Jedi is. The number 2 movie was also a Disney movie, just about a little over $100 million behind, was Beauty and the Beast, starring Emma Watson.
Ugh, love.
Really? Okay. I mean, I know you love her, but you love that
No,
movie?
yeah, I mean, I'm biased to any Emma Watson picture, which is really sad because I think that post Harry Potter, she hasn't done a lot of great projects. Um, but out of the Disney live actions, I do think that Beauty and the Beast is probably my second highest rated after 2015's Cinderella.
Oh, I mean, it's one of the better ones for sure. Yeah. It was back when like Disney could make like any remake of the thing they made and it would make $1 billion. Like that movie was huge.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of huge though, worldwide, Last Jedi makes $1.33 billion, which today would be just 2 billion shy, or 200 billion shy. Wait, no, 200 million shy of 2 billion.
That's
It's also
crazy.
it's also the highest grossing movie worldwide of 2017. And Beauty and the Beast again comes in number 2 worldwide there with 1.26 billion. So Last Jedi is the top one by about $70 million.
Wow.
Initially, when Last Jedi was done with its theatrical run, it was the number 9 highest grossing movie of all time. And it's now number 24. So it has fallen a lot in the last 9 years or so.
Yeah, in less than a decade.
Yeah. A lot of big hits coming in after that. Your Avengers and Top Guns and whatnot. Net budget, this movie was had a net budget of $343.2 million, which would be $462.3. Net profit, according to Deadline Hollywood, again, this movie had net profit of $417.5 million, which today would be $562.4. So this movie, again, a tidy earner for Star Wars. Star Wars would not be a sure thing for long, probably because of this movie. But we'll get into that next week with the first Star Wars bomb. All right, well, let's move into reactions for this movie. So critical reception was actually very, very positive. They actually praised the subversiveness of this movie. They praised Mark Hamill's acting, even though he hated what he was doing in the movie. They loved the action again, which for me was a little less good than the last one, but overall. And they also liked the humor a lot. More BB-8 throwing coins at people was great. And the only thing that they thought negative about it was again, just a little bit derivative in terms of like, you know, echoing past Star Wars a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, so this is one of those movies. Usually we talk about how like there's a divide between critics and audiences, like how critics like hate something and the audiences love it, you know? And this is actually the exact opposite. Like critics love this movie and audiences hate it. So
Which really just makes me lose faith in critics even more.
sure.
Sure, Tanner.
I'm on the But you know who loved this movie, Tanner?
Who?
Papa George.
Really?
Yeah, he thought it was beautifully made, George Lucas.
Okay.
So yeah, he goes from not liking Force Awakens to loving Rogue One and to loving this movie. So but that does kind of line up with what he said about Force Awakens. Is he didn't like how Force Awakens was too similar. He wanted them to take risks and chances. So when this movie does do that, you know, he was for it.
Yeah.
But Tanner, and usually I don't really go into the like audience reactions for movies because, you know, we kind of voice it anyway. But I think on this one it is pretty significant how the audience feels about this movie. Um, again, so they pretty much hate it. They thought Snoke, like we mentioned, was underdeveloped. And yeah, I agree. I could have used a little bit more, like explanation for who he is in this movie and why I should care that he dies.
Yeah.
But again, they really hated that the Luke was not as he wasn't like the old Luke that we remember. And this is also like one of the first instances of a movie being review bombed online, like all over the place. So that's why it has like some of the worst scores of any Star Wars movie online. And there was also the very pointed and unfair criticism of Kelly Marie Tran as Rose Tico and their racism and misogyny towards her, and they actually forced her to quit social media over it, which I think everyone in the public image should just quit social media in general. It's just healthier that way. But it is sad that, like, you know, she joins this like really beloved franchise and then, you know, is excited to be a part of it. And the people who should be, you know, applauding them, like, point so much of their hatred of this movie towards her, even though she's just an actor in the movie. She didn't write it. She's
Well,
just
and her character is far from the worst part of it. I mean, her character's storyline in this doesn't do a lot for me, but she is not the worst part of this movie. So it's very unfair to pinpoint this one newcomer character as like, nope, she's the reason it sucks, because there's a lot of reasons. And she's not one of them.
I hate to say it, but I feel like the way these like closed-minded incels think is like, if Rose was like, you know, obviously they're gonna have ammunition against her as a woman, as an Asian actor, but if she was like, and I hate to say this, if she was like Lucy Liu hot, they wouldn't have an issue. They wouldn't, you know, be so mean to her.
No, not at all. Because and that just comes down to the misogyny part of it.
And I'm not saying that like Kelly Marie Tran isn't an attractive person. I just don't think that like I think people, when they go into these movies, they expect like these beautiful, like immaculate, like, you know, movie stars. And then when they get like kind of like an everyday person, you know, like they just have a bad perspective on that.
Well, sure, because look at her character. She's an engineer. Like, she works in the bowels of a ship all the time. She's wearing coveralls for most of the movie. Like, not everybody is going to be Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow in every franchise action movie. And I think it's an unrealistic expectation and just kind of a gross expectation. But
yeah. So, yeah, she got a lot of undue hate, and that's sad. Okay, so the scores for this movie, I've got 91% on Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter. It's one of the highest rated Star Wars movies on the site.
boo.
With a 41% audience score. The tied for the lowest of the franchise with the Clone Wars movie.
That's more fitting.
It's got an 84 out of 100 on Metacritic, but a 4.3 out of 10 audience on that site, which is the lowest of any Star Wars movie. It's got a 6.8 out of 10 on Letterboxd on IMDb, which is more than I was expecting.
Yeah, me too.
And then, but on Letterboxd, it is kind of low. It's 2.9 out of 5. Ooh. I think only that and Rise of Skywalker are below 3. But this movie does have an A cinema score, so people coming out of the movie,
insane.
Well, okay. So I want to talk about this for a second, because like I feel like the hate for this movie didn't really get steamrolling until like everybody had seen it and talked about it online. Like I feel like people boarded the hate train of this movie like a bandwagon kind of thing.
I think that a lot of like the general, I agree with that, but like I also left the theater like disappointed.
Okay.
So if someone had cinema scored me and been like, "Hey, sir, what do you think?" I would have been like, "Ugh, C minus." Mm-hmm. Like, I'm surprised it's an A, because I don't know that many people. Like, the whole group I went and watched this with, not everybody was like fuming and hating it, but everybody was kind of like, "Oh, that was kind of a letdown." Like, I don't think anybody I saw it with was like happy about it.
No, I mean, I think I saw this alone. I did not go with anybody to see this. So I didn't
loser.
Really I mean, I did have a girlfriend at the time, but she did not like Star Wars, so I didn't go with her. Anyway, but I just kind of feel like this movie, like in terms of reception, like I think like what the people who first saw it were like, yeah, great, and then like when the hate train started, they were like, oh, but this, and this, and now everyone's like, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. That's how I feel too.
No, that's how I feel.
Sorry, not to
Okay.
like invalidate like anyone's opinion. I just kind of feel like at first, like there's a reason why this was so highly praised very early in the release, and then it went off a cliff after that. You know,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I just think it's interesting, like how online discourse shapes how a movie is viewed in like a consensus kind of way. You know, but good for you, haters. You made this one of the most hated movies of all time.
Love that for them.
But this movie, because it's Star Wars, does get Oscar nominations. Still, it gets 4. John Williams again for Best Original Score, because legacy, I guess, nomination again. But he loses to Alexander Desplat, who we talked about last week for almost scoring Rogue One. He wins for The Shape of Water this year, the Del Toro movie that won Best Picture as well. And this movie is also nominated for Best Sound Editing and Sound Mixing, but loses to Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's World War II movie. And this is also nominated for Best Visual Effects, but it loses to another legacy sequel, Blade Runner 2049, starring Han Solo.
Oh, a Tim favorite.
I wouldn't say a Tim favorite, but I do like the movie a lot.
Okay, Tim, I'll just go fuck myself. Thanks.
Okay, let's get into the legacy portion of this podcast. So, career-wise, Rian Johnson as a director, like he was pretty much like persona non grata for a lot of, you know, moviegoers for a little bit. Like when you mention his name, like people just go, "Ugh, Rian Johnson, the guy who ruined Star Wars." But he actually rebounds pretty quickly because 2 years later he does Knives Out, and now he's the Knives Out guy, and everyone loves him again. So good on you,
Which
Ryan.
good for him because I feel like this would normally be like a career killer for somebody.
Probably would, but again, like I think he's a pretty good writer. Like even if you have issues with how he handled Star Wars, like he knows how to write a story and subvert your expectations.
Yeah.
So and it wasn't a fluke that his movies before Star Wars were good. It just so happens that he may not have been the best fit for Star Wars himself personally.
Well, but I feel like that just happens sometimes when you have franchise movies where you get a good writer or a good indie director and they're like, "Oh my god, you won an Oscar. We're going to hand you a franchise." Like look at Eternals.
Mm-hmm.
You get a good Oscar-winning director and then they were like, "Here, now do this huge budget movie that's not really your wheelhouse."
Mm-hmm.
And then they try to put their spin on it and everyone's like, "We hated it."
Yes, but as messy as Eternals is in a lot of respects for that reason, it looks gorgeous. Like the
Sure, yeah.
landscapes, like, and that's her jam. That's what she strives at, and it looks amazing. But yeah, you're right. Like it's not a good
Yeah.
fit. And again, like if Looper didn't come out and like Hollywood sees like, oh, really good original sci-fi movie, we got to put you in a sci-fi franchise, you know? Oh, Star Wars is coming up. You want to do a Star Wars? Like it's just kind of like, well, yeah, Looper is a really good sci-fi movie, but it's not necessarily like one-to-one comparable with Star Wars. So, um, again, this kind of does ruin Kelly Marie Tran's career though, in terms of career killers. I mean, like, not that it kind of made her career and then destroyed it right after, but so like I feel like a lot of people are wary to cast her these days. Although she does do Raya and the Last Dragon as the lead voice in that one. So at least Disney recognizes that, she's still a good hire.
Yeah.
And that's a good movie. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I like Raya.
And then we got, of course, this is right in the middle of like the Laura Dern renaissance, I feel like. Like I feel like in the 2000s, we didn't really see a lot of Laura Dern. And then she does Wild with Reese Witherspoon. Gets an Oscar nom for that. and then she does a bunch of stuff. Now she's everywhere again.
Yeah.
And she rides that to an Oscar win for Marriage Story, which I don't think I think it's a weird choice personally,
Me
but
too.
I think she is good in that movie. She's very well cast. I don't know if I would give it an Oscar for it, but I do love Laura Derns, so I'm not going to argue with that much.
Me too.
And then Benicio del Toro, I don't really feel like this affects his career one way or the other. He was already kind of a big thing, but also gets an Oscar nom for One Battle After Another this last year, so he's still well acclaimed. And the rest of them we'll talk about next episode because pretty much everybody else comes back to do more. So, of course, Kelly Marie Tran does come back for Rise of Skywalker, but she's barely in it, so I figure we should talk about her in this one and not the next one. All right, Tanner, that is going to do it for The Last Jedi.
Woo!
Do you feel like what is it, catharsis for having gone over this movie and talked about it a lot and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like this movie, but I'm never going to be like, oh, Star Wars was ruined, or like, there's just some of them I like more than others. This one is not my favorite by any means. I have a lot of problems with it, but it is what it is.
Kind of how I feel about Phantom Menace.
Yeah. See, and Tim, I'm glad that we're in a place where we can just agree to disagree about things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, well, before we go,
take my loss on this one and move on.
Thank you, Tanner, for taking your loss. Before we go, though, Tanner, let's get into non-Star Wars stuff because I'm sure everyone is sick of us talking about Last Jedi by now. So, Tanner, what is something from pop culture that you want to talk about?
Ooh, I haven't watched any new movies in quite a while, like theatrical releases, but I am catching up on all my HBO stuff. So I'm watching the current season of Hacks, which I'm loving. Love that show.
It's on my list.
And Euphoria, which listeners, with no spoilers, if you've watched season 3, episode 3, what a doozy that was. But also, I just continually watch this show and I wonder, who is this for? Because the first season, especially, I was like, whose high school experience was Euphoria's high school experience? Because, my God, the chaotic energy and the drug use and the promiscuity and the zero dress code. I don't know any American school that would allow that. However, we'll suspend reality. But the show just keeps going wilder and wilder for me. Do I enjoy it? Like, not really, but I am watching it because it's a messy slop fest and a lot of people are not happy with this current season. So I'm, of course, going to drink all the tea on that.
Yeah, I saw that the reviews are very unkind this season. I haven't watched I never watched the show, but I'm familiar with it.
People are ripping this season apart.
Isn't this the last season?
It hasn't been like officially announced, but everyone's kind of saying like, well, this should be the last season.
Because they get like Zendaya like once every 5 years to do.
Well, yeah, and that's like, I'm glad they did the jump in this one because season 3 is like 5 years after high school. So I'm glad that they left the high school behind because it's just not, it wouldn't have worked with all of them. But now you run into problems, like, I feel like it's hard to keep these characters connected post high school. And it's like, what's the point? Because everybody kind of hates each other. So like, why are we trying to keep them connected?
Yeah.
We'll see, but it's a doozy.
That's also kind of been on my list a little bit. I mean, I know it's not going to be like a fun watch, but
no, and especially the first season is the second season's a little more like fun. The first season's very well done. It's just very, very heavy content.
Yeah, I might watch it eventually, but I do think that, speaking of your other shout out, I would sooner watch Hacks than that. I think Hacks is one that is really, like, as the years go on, has been really like appealing to me. So I might go into that one.
Yeah, and I only started it this year too, but it is just delightful.
All right, well, I saw the biggest movie that just came out. I saw Michael, the Michael Jackson movie.
Ooh, and what did you think?
So I was going into it thinking it was going to be pretty bad. Like, I infamously I don't think that Bohemian Rhapsody was a terrible movie. I just think it was really overrated and was kind of annoyed by it. So I was like, oh, here we go again. We're going to get Michael the movie and it's going to be really sanitized and not really go into like the nitty gritty shit. And everyone's going to play his music for 6 months or more nonstop. It's going to drive me crazy again. And then the reviews are bad. And I was like, okay, here we go. And then I saw it and it was all those things I just said. Like it's very like safe
Mm-hmm.
and very laudatory of Michael as a person and as a creator. And so it's not really pushing the envelope in any regard. However, I didn't think it was half bad. Like I was like, I think this is the best version of what this could have been. For like as messy as the reshoots were on this movie, like how they had to like refilm the last third act, which yeah, it doesn't really like the ending of this movie isn't like really like doesn't really fit with a lot of it. It just kind of like ends. But um I think that like it's really well shot. Like the cinematography of the concert sequences is like pretty well worth the price of admission. The guy who plays Michael Jackson, his nephew Jafar Jackson, does a really good impression. Um and Coleman Domingo also was incredible, as always, as Joe Jackson. Despite
Oh, good.
all of his he has so much makeup and prosthetics on his face, it's crazy. But he's also really good as this like one note villain character. But so yeah, I kind of came out of it being like, yeah, okay, like I think Michael Jackson is a much more like controversial figure than this movie portrayed him to be. Like, and they don't get into any of that. But like I did like the stuff that they did, prop him up as. Like I enjoy the sequences of him like being creative with his dancing and stuff like that and figuring it out on the fly, and like putting his passion into it. Like, I felt that. And um I also felt like the part of his personality that people did love, like the childlike wonder that he always had. Like, I did feel that from the movie, even though they don't get into like really like the fact that the reason he was like that was because he had a stunted childhood that was robbed from him. So he never really grew out of being a child. Um, that's kind of there, but not really. And of course, what comes of that, allegedly, supposedly,
Yeah.
the really murky shit. They don't go into that at all. So, but I think like in terms of like what the movie is, like what it's showing us, like I I, I try not to like criticize a movie for what it's not. Like, oh, it should have been this and this and this and this and this. You know, but for what the movie that it is and it's presented to us, it's not half bad. So I I'm a little bit on the higher on the positive side.
Good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Antoine Fuqua as a director is really spotty for me, but this is one of the ones that I prefer of his. So, but again, like, and people were talking about how like, oh, well, they might do a sequel to this because it's going to do really well, and they'll do the '90s stuff and the 2000s stuff because this movie ends like at like '88, I want to say. Like it only is like the first half of his career,
Mm.
and before all that like really controversial stuff happens. And I don't think that's gonna like because the people who love this movie are not going to be like psyched to go into the next one, where it's going to be like all the dour shit,
Yeah, you don't want to go into his like downfall and his yeah.
But as somebody who like didn't grow up with that version of Michael Jackson, because I was born after this movie ends. So I didn't really know the Thriller version of Michael Jackson. When I grew up, all I knew was like the Michael Jackson that people make fun of, for looking creepy, and acting weird and having a funny
Yeah, me
voice.
too.
And so that was the only real version of him that I knew as a person. So this was a little bit elucidating for me in that like I did get to see, a version I was never exposed to. And maybe expose is the wrong word when I'm talking about me being a kid, but like, I like it was at least like enjoyable for me to get to know the idea of Michael Jackson, like the figure in the public at that point in his career.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, not not far from the best movie I've seen all year. Far from the best music biopic I've ever seen, but good enough for what it is.
Good.
Okay, well, Tana, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for rehashing all your Last Jedi trauma.
Oh, Tim, it was my pleasure.
But next week we get into some more beloved Star Wars, sort of, not really.
Yeah,
not
you
being
guys
sarcastic.
stay tuned for next week when we go over Solo and I get to defend another Emilia Clarke project.
Oh, okay. I don't think we've really talked about Solo before. I wasn't really sure how you were gonna. I mean, we'll save that for next week, of course, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Another the spinoff that kind of killed the spinoff game for a while.
Yep.
So we'll go into that. But thank you guys so much for listening. Again, we are back to the franchise wherever you get your podcasts. We are up every Tuesday with new episodes. You guys can get in contact with us. I'm very prominent on Letterboxd at my handle TGMacman. That's TGMACMAN. And Tanner?
You guys, I'm on the gram, Tanwill10. And then don't forget, you can also always submit questions to us at our email address.
Oh, if you guys want to ask us a question, just ask us anything. We have an email address for that, questions@backtothefranchise.com. So please ask us your questions and we will answer them on the end of the episodes. And of course, rate and review as well. That really helps people get to find us. So it helps the franchise, helps Back to the Franchise as a whole. So give us 5 stars only. We don't want your 4-star bullshit, and only good reviews. So
we don't handle criticism well. Leave us good reviews or leave us nothing.
And if it's a lie, so be it. That's fine. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening and stay tuned for next week. Until then, may the Force still be with you.